Hello, Mind Mappers, and welcome to the video. Today we're going to be going over Maximum Achievement by Tracy, strategies and skills that will unlock your hidden powers to succeed. Tracy is one of my favorite synthesizers of information. What we've got here is a bunch of strategies, principles, we've got a bunch of different skills and habits that will help us succeed in almost any area of our life. Whether we're looking to get more into fitness, whether we're looking to achieve some sort of business or career success, Tracy is the man to go to. And with that, let's get directly into the introduction. I pulled out a quote that I think gives us a good overview of what we can expect to learn today from Tracy. The system you are about to learn can change your life. This is kind of the prelude to the book. Everything we can expect to learn today. This book contains a unique synthesis of ideas, methods, and techniques brought together in one place for the first time. The individual components, however, are not new. They have been learned and relearned throughout all the ages of man. These principles and practices have been tested and proven by millions of men and women, and all great success is based on them. By integrating these ideas and methods into your daily life, you will feel happier, healthier, and more self-confident. You will experience greater sense of power, purpose, and self-direction. You will be more positive, more focused, and more able to achieve your goals. You will get along better with the important people in your life, and you'll be more successful in your career, and you will feel wonderful about yourself. So again, we're kind of in the prelude. The one thing that I just love about the beginning of the book here and love about Tracy himself is he talks about how there's kind of nothing new under the sun, right? We are all learning and relearning these principles for success in multiple different areas of our life over and over again, not only throughout our life, but throughout the generations of human kind of success in human evolution. You'll learn to unlock the great untapped reserves of potential that lie deep within you. By practicing the exercises, you'll get results out of proportion to the effort that you put in. You'll propel your whole life onto the high road of success, achievement, and greater happiness than perhaps you've ever known. Of course, like I said before, there's nothing new here, but actually I think that's good. This book is based on timeless advice, guidance, and methods. The only thing new here is the patented Tracy spin. But I think that's actually great, because new advice often doesn't last. Often we would be better served to learn from principles and practices tested for millions of years. There's certainly a lot of new science out there on things like habits, goals, planning, and achievement, all things that we talk about on the channel. That science and technology and people may have changed, but seriously, everything that we're talking about here is all the same. It's the things that the Stoics went through. It's the things that they went through when they were getting into self-development for the very first time. It's things that's revisited all the way through different world religions and etc. They're time-tested principles and exercises, and that's really what we're learning about today. Nothing new, but that's good. With that, let's talk a little bit about mind mapping before we get into the big ideas of the book. You can get the most out of the mind maps by following along. You can find the process of how I mind map in all 50 plus mind map templates at the first link in the description down below. Following along with the mind maps will help you learn more, remember better, and apply these books to your life. And also, if you want to skip some of the videos and you want to get directly into what I think are the most important big ideas from dozens and dozens of books on a particular topic, topics like mind mapping, topics like learning, topics like habits and goal setting, you can find all of those masterclasses that I put together and synthesized into one 2-hour masterclass on a particular topic at themindmapguy.com. With that, let's get directly into our first big idea here, which is masterpiece. You must start with your ideal, your vision of a perfect future. You begin unlocking your inner powers by lifting up your eyes and seeing your life exactly as if it were already perfect in every respect. Your first job is to create a blueprint, a clear picture of where you are going and what it will look like when you get there. This image will then serve as an organizing principle, a guide, a benchmark, against which you can measure and compare everything that you do in the process of turning it into your reality. Defining the seven ingredients of success gives you a series of targets to aim for. When you define your life in ideal terms, when you have the courage to decide exactly what you want, you begin. So if you want to create a masterpiece life, first we need to start with your ideal. What does that life look like for you? It's going to be different for each of us. What we want to do here is create a blueprint, something that we can organize around. Without this ideal, your masterpiece might look a little bit more like a Jackson Pollock painting. You're kind of going in one direction and then you decide that you're going to change, and you're going in another direction and you decide you're going to change. And there's no real cohesive piece of art that you're creating at the end. Not bad on this canvas, and of course Jackson Pollock is a very famous artist, but it's a little messy for a life. The 7 ingredients of success that Brian talks about in this quote are: number 1, peace of mind. Number 2, your health and your energy. Number 3, your loving relationships. Number 4, your financial freedom. Number 5, worthy goals and ideals. Number 6 is self-knowledge and self-awareness. And number 7 is personal fulfillment. And how about you? What does your ideal look like in each one of these areas? What does peace of mind mean for you? What does having health and having energy mean for you? What do your loving relationships look like? What does your financial life look like? What are some of your worthy goals and ideals that don't relate to any of these core principles here? What does your self-knowledge and self-awareness look like? And what does your personal fulfillment look like? Now, what we want to do next is download this mind map and essentially input each piece of information into these 7 different categories. Just imagine, what does your ideal life look like if it was already perfect in every respect? What does your life as a masterpiece look like in those 7 areas? Our next big idea is substitute. This is one of the most important mental laws, and it's an extension of the law of control. It states that your conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time, and that you can substitute one thought for another. This crowding out principle allows you to deliberately replace a negative thought with a positive thought. In so doing, you take control of your emotional life. This law is your key to happiness, to a positive mental attitude, and to personal liberation. It can change your relationships, your conversations, and your predominant content of your conscious mind. Many people have told me that this law has changed their lives. Your conscious mind is never empty. It is always occupied with something. By using the law of substitution, which we're talking about in this quote, you can replace any negative or fearful thought that you may be troubled with. You can deliberately substitute a positive thought in its place. So what we're talking about here is, of course, that law of substitution, a subset of the law of control. And really, if we break it down, it's all about that the mind can only hold one thought at a time. And at first, when you see that, it might seem like that's actually a limitation. But as Brian points out here, it's actually an advantage. If you've got a positive thought in your head, you can't also hold the negative one. And of course, this works vice versa as well. If you're holding on to a negative thought about a person, a situation, or yourself, or something that happened to you the day before, there's no room for positive thoughts and emotions. And of course, you're going to kind of be filled up with those negative emotions and not be able to have any positive emotions at all. So what can we do about this? Knowing that the mind can only hold one piece or one thought at a time, what can we do about the fact that it seems to like to hold on to negative ones from time to time? Step 1, of course, is just awareness of your thoughts, right? He's talking about how we can only have one thought at a time, and he's also talking about how your mind is never empty. Step number 1 is to just be aware of that, to be aware how your mind is constantly thinking of something, right? You're in the shower and you're thinking about what you need to do for your day. You're doing all sorts of things while you're at work. You're thinking about different meetings that you have coming up or a meeting that you've had before. The mind is truly never empty. It's always, always, always thinking about something. Step number 2 is, after you're aware, what we want to do is be aware of the negative thoughts. Be aware when we're kind of ruminating on something negative, and we want to turn that around and turn it into a positive. We want to think about, okay, let's say I had a meeting with someone and it just didn't go the way that I had planned. I want to turn that around and look for the positive things that did come out of that meeting. If I didn't get my way inside of the meeting, well, let's look at this as an experiment in a way to test how well thought out the other person's idea might be, for example. Step number 3 is repeat that moment to moment. Because of course, after you've replaced one negative thought with a positive thought, a new negative thought is going to come through. That's kind of the way the mind works. So it's kind of this constant step 1, step 2, step 3, but it's not necessarily follow the steps, it's doing each one in unison. We need to constantly be aware of our thoughts. We need to constantly be trying to turn the negatives into a positive, find a way to be grateful for the things that you're currently not feeling good about. And step number 3 is repeat that moment to moment to moment. Make sure we are being aware and make sure we're doing our best to turn our negatives into positives and to turn our kind of unhappiness into gratitude as much as possible. Our first big idea that I've highlighted here in red that I believe is one of the most important points of the entire book is about diamonds. And we've all kind of heard this story before, but it bears repeating. The merchant picked up the stone and said, "This is a diamond of great price and value." The new farmer was, of course, skeptical, but the merchant insisted that he show him where he had found the diamond. They went out on the farm to where the farmer had been watering the donkey, and as they looked around, they found another diamond, and another, and another. It turned out that the whole farm was covered with acres of diamonds. The old farmer had gone off into Africa seeking diamonds without ever looking under his own feet. The moral of the story here was that the old farmer did not realize that the diamonds do not look like diamonds in their rough form. They simply look like rocks to an uneducated eye. A diamond must be cut, faceted, polished, and set before it looks like the kind of diamond that you see in a jewelry store. Likewise, your acres of diamonds probably lie right under your own feet, but they are usually disguised as hard work. Opportunities come dressed in work clothes. Your acres of diamonds probably lie in your own talents, your interests, your education, your background and experience, your industry, your city, or your contacts. Your acres of diamonds probably lie right under your own feet if you will just take the time to recognize them and then go out to work on them. So, what are you searching for that you might already have access to? That's what this whole fable is kind of about, right? The story has been around for quite a long time. I've heard it in many different books, told many different ways. But essentially, a farmer goes out in search for diamonds in a foreign land. He dies a tragic death without ever having found them, and this is kind of the idea of the gold rush as well. But a new farmer who bought his land for a small price compared to what the farmer had to pay to go out and look for these diamonds, discovers that there were actually acres of diamonds underneath his feet or on the old farmer's land. And again, we talked about this before in our first point, but why has this story stuck around for so long? Why is this constantly coming up in personal development time and time and time again? I personally believe it's because it rings true to so many of us. I mean, how many times have you moved on to something new because the old one just wasn't working out for you? Maybe you tried a new business for 3, 6 months, a year, and for some reason it just didn't work out for you and you decided to move on to something else, something new, something shiny. Did you really commit to that first venture, right? If you look back on that, business, that relationship, whatever it might be for you, did you truly explore all the opportunity that you had within that venture, within that relationship? This is something that I really have struggled with in the past. After starting 2 successful businesses, I straight up just got bored with them and I moved on to something else. I had my gym for 3 years, 4 years, and it was very successful. I ended up getting bored with it and moving on to my marketing business. And the same thing kind of happened with my marketing business where I had that for 2 or 3 years. Again, very successful for that short period of time. And I decided to move on to this YouTube channel. I often wonder what my life would have been like had I just continued to work on that first business. It's not that I'm looking back and wishing that I didn't make the change, but I do think that commitment to the first business would have been probably a better option. That gym would have been much larger, that career and that skill set that I had would have been much deeper by now. The Acres of Diamond story is definitely true in my own life, and I'm now committing to continuing this YouTube channel in whatever form it takes for the long term. Decades and decades from now, I'm going to be continuing to share my wisdom with people, share wisdom from books and from different courses that I learn and etc. with people because that's really what I feel called to do. That's where I feel my acres of diamonds will show themselves. Of course, they're still dressed up in overalls and look like hard work at the moment, but 5, 10 years from now, I'm sure that all of this hard work will have paid off. Our next big idea here is 7 questions. Whatever you wrote as an answer to any of these questions, including the question, what one thing would you dare to dream if you knew that you could not fail, you can be, have, or do? The very fact that you can write it means that you can achieve it. So this is all about the questions that you ask yourself. Once you've identified what it is, the only question you have to answer is, do I want it badly enough, and am I willing to pay the price? Take a few moments to write out your answers to each of these 7 questions. We'll talk about these later. Once you have your answers on the paper, go over them and select just one as your major definite purpose in life right now. So this is all about, again, acres of diamonds, right? Do I want it badly enough, and am I willing to pay the price? Once we know there's acres of diamonds directly underneath our feet, we need to know what our masterpiece looks like and be willing to pay the price. So here are 7 different questions that I believe, and Brian believes, can change your life. Number 1 is, what are your 5 most important values in your life? Number 2 is, what are 3 most important goals in your life right now? Number 3 is, what would you do? How would you spend your time if you learned today that you had only 6 months to live? Number 4 is, what would you do if you won $1 million cash, tax-free in the lottery tomorrow? Number 5 is, what have you always wanted to do but been afraid to attempt? Number 6 is, what do you most enjoy doing? What gives you the greatest feeling of self-esteem and personal satisfaction? Number 7 is, what one great thing would you dare to dream if you knew that you could not fail? I suggest that you take 30 seconds and answer these questions. Brian tells us, actually inside the book, that a 30-second response is often as accurate or more accurate than a 30-minute one. Fill out this mind map, make a voice note, or make a video on each question. The answers to these questions can be the guiding light for your life. They can lead you towards what your masterpiece might look like. And as we know, after we know what our masterpiece might look like, all we need to do is be willing and get busy paying the price. Our next red point here, our next big idea, I believe this is one of the most important points in the entire book, is Excusitis, a brand new word for me. And I believe that Brian might have made this up. A really good word. I love it. Here is a simple way to test your excuses. Ask yourself, is there anyone, anywhere, with my problem or limitation who has succeeded in spite of it? If the answer is yes, you know that your excuse is not valid. It is not a legitimate reason for your failure to make progress. What one person has done, someone else can do as well. The disease of excusitis, the inflammation of the excuse-making gland, is invariably fatal to success. If you have it, resolve to get over it right away before it sabotages all of your hopes for great success. So excusitis, a wonderful word, but really what it is all about making excuses for why you haven't been able to have success in whatever you're attempting to do. Do you fall prey to excusitis? I know at certain points in my life, I've fallen prey to it. The definition for excusitis might be something like the act of constantly coming up with reasons why you can't do something. This disease has a 100% mortality rate for your success. And of course, this book is all about how we overcome excusitis. One way that Brian points out here is to find role models, or people who have already done what you're looking to do. This is very powerful. You don't necessarily have to seek them out as mentors or coaches, although that's one way to find the role models. But one of the best ways is just to find examples of people who have been where you are and are currently where you want to be. I love this exercise. When you're trying to do something, find someone who's already done it before. Again, whether it's a coach, a peer, an online mentor, or just knowing a success story of someone who's done it, it's absolutely huge. This could be called the has it been done rule. Has someone else done what you're looking to do? Check that off. Someone with your same background, challenges, or opportunity, or with less advantages than you currently have? How about someone with more difficulties than you? Someone who has gone through things that you couldn't even imagine having to go through, but has still been successful. This rule states that if it's been done, then it's possible. And one of the ways that we can make ourselves less likely to fall prey to excusitis is to seek out role models, or to seek out people who have been where we are and are going, or have been where we want to be. Our final point here is maybe my favorite point of the entire book. I didn't highlight it in red because I'm not sure if it's going to connect with all of you the way that it connected with me, but the final point is about love. Brian says, love is the beginning and the end. Your purpose in life is to become a totally loving person. Life is a study of attention. It is a matter of priorities, of choice. Your life is what you make it by the priorities you set and the things that you choose to focus your attention upon. Your job is to live joyously, and this is only possible by filling your mind with thoughts of love, compassion, and forgiveness. Only one life that soon is past. Only what's done with love will last. This is the secret of the ages, the true foundation of all human greatness. It is the core value and the most essential unifying principle of truly exceptional people. And the most wonderful thing about love is that you can fill your life with it by deciding to do so. The choice is yours, and it has always been. I wish you luck. I wish you success and happiness. And above all, I wish you love. So this is a very powerful quote. It's not something we talk about enough in personal development, I think, is this word love. Of course, it has a ton of connotations around it, but I think what Brian means here is something a little different than what you might be expecting. Love leads to greatness in everything. And of course, this might seem backwards. Often we see high achievers as people without emotion, just willing to do what it takes to get it done. Love can be seen as something that gets in the way of success or that might distract us. But why does it lead to greatness? Well, let's break it down. Greatness is going to require a lot of sacrifice. It's going to require long hours, dedication, hard work, and risks. They're all a barrier to entry in almost any arena. How can you be sure that you're willing to face up to that each day? Love. Love for your family. Love for your clients. Love for the greater good. Love for your creativity. The only way that you're going to get past some of these long hours, dedication, hard work, and risks are by diving into the love that you have for the people that you're serving, the love that you have for the people around you, the love that you have for yourself and your gifts. The most important type of love, of course, to me at the very least, is self-love and self-compassion, something we've been talking a lot about on this channel lately. This book has a lot of techniques and practices for you to use. They will all be more effective if you're able to practice self-compassion first. Instead of beating yourself up when you're not able to live up to your ideal, play this game. How quickly can you show self-compassion and dust yourself off, ready for the next moment? That was Maximum Achievement by Brian Tracy. I want to thank you for being with me here today until the end of the video. If you're interested in more about the concepts inside of this book, things about goal setting, things about habit building, things about personal success and mastery, you might want to check out my masterclasses on themindmapguy.com. I've synthesized a ton of information from dozens and dozens of books into one 2-hour-long course on topics like habits, goal setting, and learning. I think you'll really enjoy them. Thanks for being with me here in this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.